Channel 1.
All stations, please stand by for tonight's Skywarn Information Net, NB9X. 9 p.m. and time for a special edition of tonight's NWS Ruskin Skywarn Information Net. The Skywarn Information Net is presented every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. here on the NI4CE repeater system as a service to all of the ham radio community that is involved with the Skywarn Severe Weather Spotter program. This net is designed to inform and educate our Skywarn spotters and to make sure that everyone can operate when they do need to operate. Tonight we will have a special edition of this net because we have a very special uber severe weather situation. It's called Hurricane Milton. Milton, as of 8 o'clock tonight, was located about 440 miles southwest of Tampa, sporting winds of 165 miles per hour and a minimum central pressure of 902 millibars. That is getting into the territory where Hurricane Wilma was back in 2005. Wilma at that time was the most powerful hurricane in the Atlantic Basin with a minimum central pressure of 882 millibars and 175 mile per hour winds. Now, having said that, Milton has already surpassed the speed. It was 180 miles per hour yesterday. The minimum central pressure didn't quite get as low as Wilma's, but the Hurricane Center is now saying tonight that this storm could continue to strengthen during the next 12 to 24 hours before conditions in the atmosphere make it less conducive for any strengthening, and actually some weakening could take place. So we'll just have to keep our eye on Milton this evening and see just how fast and how deep this storm actually intensifies. But it is now more than just a mere Category 5 hurricane. This is a very dangerous Category 5 hurricane. And as such, here along the west coast of Florida, we have storm surge warnings and hurricane warnings from Bonita Beach northward to the Suwannee River. The storm surge warning actually wraps around the southern part of the Florida Peninsula down to Flamingo. And late this afternoon, because of a track change with this storm, the Hurricane Center in Miami has now issued a hurricane warning and storm surge warning for the east coast of Florida, from the St. Lucie Indian River County line northward up through Ponte Vedra Beach and now into St. Mary's River area in Georgia. As Hurricane Milton treads across the state of Florida and emerges out into the Atlantic sometime on Thursday afternoon, it is expected with its power to cause storm surge flooding now along the east coast of Florida, in addition to what may be in store for the west coast. Likely is in store along the west coast is significant and maybe unprecedented storm surge flooding over and above what we saw with Hurricane Helene about 10 days ago. For our southern counties, which started out with a 5 to 10 foot storm surge possibility, the track shift this afternoon has now upped that possibility to 8 to 12 feet. So if you are in Lee County, Charlotte County, the Charlotte Harbor area, and you are prone to any kind of storm surge in those areas along with Sanibel Island and Captiva, be prepared for something that now looks like it may actually be worse than what was originally forecast. The original forecast for Sarasota, Manatee, Hillsborough, and Pinellas County was roughly 8 to 12 feet, possibly as high as 15 feet. Now with the new track for Hurricane Milton, a 10 to 15 foot storm surge along the Sarasota and Manatee County coast is a real possibility. There may be some mitigation because of the track shift to to the waters of Tampa Bay, but plan for the worst and hope for the best. Speaking of the track shift, at 5 o'clock this evening, the Hurricane Center projected a new track a little more, or a little bit further south than what they had been projecting for the last 24 hours. The new forecast calls for this storm to decrease in intensity to a strong Category 3 because of some shear that is going to become part of the atmosphere that the storm will flow through. But it will make landfall on the current forecast track near Sarasota and then track to the northeast across the interior of the Florida Peninsula to an exit on the east coast near Melbourne. During the course of its time over land, the storm is expected to decrease in intensity from a strong Category 3 to a strong Category 1, possibly nearing a Category 2 storm. So it will lose some of its might, some of its wind, not necessarily any of its precipitation. We will talk about that in a moment, but the storm track, at least for the moment, is shifted a little bit further south away from the waters of Tampa Bay. Now that may be good news for folks who live along the waters of Tampa Bay, eastern Hillsborough, I should say western Hillsborough County, and eastern Pinellas County. Had the storm tracked right near the mouth of Tampa Bay and or a little bit north, that would have caused storm surge to go up into the bay and exacerbate the amount of flooding that could be expected along coastal parts of Tampa Bay. However, with the storm now tracking a little bit further to the south, the winds will not be necessarily out of the south or the southwest. They will be more likely out of the east, and if that is the case, that is likely to push water out of Tampa Bay, and that could make the storm surge flooding, particularly along the Hillsborough County coast, a little bit less than what has been forecast over the last 24 hours. But nonetheless, if you live in a flood-prone area, you need to evacuate. You do not need to become a victim of storm surge, and property can be replaced. Human life can't. This is the Skywarn information net for this Tuesday evening. I am NB9X. We're continuing with our discussion here and information about Hurricane Milton, one of the most powerful storms to even look at the Florida Peninsula in the last 100 years. And in fact, the last time that a Category 3 storm struck in this part of Florida was 101 years ago. So we can project what Milton may do based on what we have seen recently with Hurricane Helene, which did make landfall as a Category 4 storm. But this storm is going to have a different kind of track. It's not going to brush the coastline of the west coast of Florida as it makes its way north. It is going to be more of a direct hit, and as a result, it is going to have a different kind of impact along the shoreline. At the same time, with all of the damage that has been incurred because of Hurricane Helene, there is a substantial opportunity and probability that a lot of the wreckage that remains left over from Hurricane Helene will become objects that may become projectiles and in and of themselves pose an extremely different kind of risk for the west coast of Florida. If you've never been through a Category 3, 4, or 5 hurricane, it is not something you want to mess with. You do want to get out of its way. A lot of people have, and that's why Interstate 75 and I-4, along with the Suncoast Parkway, have been as busy as they have been. A lot of traffic going north and northeast. Other traffic on 75 going south towards Alligator Alley and an eventual destination of the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. If you have not bugged out as yet, but think that that may be the best thing for you to do. We urge you not to delay with that. Get on the road and get out of the area and out of harm's way as quickly as possible. We can tell you there still are some traffic issues on Alligator Alley, even at this hour tonight. Also some bottlenecks up around Wildwood and the Ocala area, which tend to have chronic bottlenecks because they're trying to stuff 6 lanes of traffic into 3 or 4. And so as a result, you will run into some stretches of slow traffic that will delay you to get to your final destination. If you are leaving the area this evening, make sure that you have enough apparel with you, enough medicine, enough even foodstuffs to keep you at bay and keep you away from what you would normally be domiciled in for an extended period of time. Again, because we don't have a lot of experience with this kind of storm in this area. The development that has taken place here along Florida's west coast in the last 10 years, the potential for a lot of damage and devastation is significant. And what might have been a fairly easy storm with Hurricane Debbie back in August, this is an entirely different kind of situation. And you may think, well, okay, the storm will be out in the Atlantic by Thursday afternoon, the winds will subside, we'll be able to come back. And the fact of the matter is you may not be able to because of the damage and because of down trees, down power lines, building damage that has been incurred from the storm. And one other factor, if you are trying or having need to cross any of the bridges in Tampa Bay, depending upon storm surge, you may not be able to cross the bridges because they'll be filled with debris out of Tampa Bay. We saw that with Hurricane Debbie 2 months ago. We saw it recently with Helene. And we are very likely to see that kind of scenario again. So before you attempt to come back to your normal place of residence, if you are leaving or you have already left and you're within the sound of our voice tonight, make sure you check and make sure that you can get back to where you need to go. Those of us who are staying, the tropical storm force winds were originally forecast by the Hurricane Center to begin somewhere around 9 a.m. tomorrow morning along the west coast of Florida. The Hurricane Center has also pushed that back a little bit, and if you live along the west coast, you're likely to start seeing tropical storm force winds around 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. That will be pushed back to maybe 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and by the time you get all the way over to the East Coast, those tropical storm force winds will likely arrive overnight and possibly as late as Thursday morning at daybreak. Tropical storm force winds begin wherever you are. They are likely to be with us for at least 12 hours. That is the time that the Hurricane Center is currently projecting that Milton will be over the peninsula. And on the East Coast, that's going to be even longer because the storm is going to have to travel much further east into the Atlantic before the winds will begin subsiding along the coastal areas of Brevard, St. Lucie, Indian River County, and Volusia County. The possibility of some shear to try and tear up this storm and get the Category 5 winds down to a more reasonable, if there is such a thing, Category 3 level. To the north of Florida, there is some very dry and cool air. And as Milton does track across the peninsula, remember, hurricanes spin counterclockwise, so it will be pulling down that cooler, drier air. At the same time, some of that cooler, drier air, based on satellite photography, looks like it is going to try and wrap into Milton. And if it does get to the core of the storm, that will also tend to be a weakening factor with this storm in addition to the vertical shear that the storm is expected to encounter in its last 12 to 24 hours out over the Gulf of Mexico. So we can hope for that shear. We can hope that it takes the storm down, but again, prepare for the worst, and if the worst doesn't happen, we're better off. Final note, and that is winds are going to be extremely high in a number of our counties here in west central and southwest Florida over the course of the next 24 to 36 hours. If you have never been in that kind of a situation, the level of wind, the speed of the wind, 100 miles per hour, 110 miles per hour, or even faster, is going to create a lot of noise. And this is something that may cause some trauma. You may want to get some earplugs if it becomes intolerable. But these storms, in addition to being very powerful and being very forceful, are also very noisy. So something that you may want to prepare for. We will begin directed net operations here on the NI4CE repeater system and on our NXDN network on Skywarn 1299, likely tomorrow afternoon as the tropical storm force winds start to impact the west coast of Florida. Thereafter, the nets will remain in directed mode until Milton is out of our hair, and we can return to normal operations. Now, there may not be normal operations after Skywarn, depending upon the amount of damage, displacement, and the need for emergency communications. And so, as a result, when we spin up the Skywarn net tomorrow, the West Central Florida Areas organization will also spin up their net, and we will run in parallel. And if at such time we can stand down the Skywarn part of it, or at least go into a standby mode, if there is a need for continued emergency communications, West Central Florida Areas will be here, and they will then take command of NI4CE analog and NXDN. This is the Skywarn information net for this Tuesday evening before Hurricane Milton. Finally, as the president of the West Central Florida Group, which is the operator of NI4CE and the NXDN network, I do also want to share one piece of information with everybody. Because this is an unprecedented storm, and we have not seen anything like this since all of the development over the course of the last 50, 60 years here in Florida. Well, part of that development has been the construction of tall broadcast towers, on which we are on several. A couple of the newer towers have been built to the newest standards and hopefully will have no problem withstanding the very powerful winds of this hurricane. But we do have a couple of towers that date back to the early 1980s, before the new standards were put out. And I just want to mention this because one of the casualties of Hurricane Andrew in 1992 was a 1,600-foot television broadcast tower to the south of Miami in Homestead. Some of you may remember that WCIX television lost that 1,600-foot tower to the Category 5 winds of Hurricane Andrew. Gosh, I can't tell you how much I am hoping and praying that none of our towers are affected by this storm. That would be a worst-case scenario. But if all of a sudden, if one of our repeaters happens to disappear and you can't bring it back, well, the storm may have done its deed, and there's really nothing we can do about that. If the power goes out at any of our sites, there is long-term diesel or propane gas generator power that is at these sites. So if the commercial power goes out, these sites will stay up. And that has been something, a backbone that we have built the NI4CE system on, because we realize that in situations like this, the electric grid is likely going to fail. It will have many different places it can break, and it may take some time to get it back. In 2018, when Hurricane Irma made its way up the Florida Peninsula, one of our sites, the Holiday Analog Pasco NXDN site, was without commercial power for 10 days. You never realized it because the diesel generator at the site kept the repeater and also kept the commercial broadcast stations that are on that tower on the air. But it was without commercial power for that length of time. So this is something that we have been very sensitive to from 2001 when we first started building the NI4CE system. The good Lord willing, on Friday we will still have all of the repeaters on the air, and they will be here to serve whatever communications needs there may be it chit-chat or be it something that is very serious here on the NI4CE system. One last note. During Helene, we had a lot of folks that as we were starting the really serious part of our operations, they decided they needed to get a radio check. During the course of the next, I would say 18 hours or so, when we're not in a directed net, that is the time for you to check out your radio. If you need a radio check, please ask for it then. Once we start the directed net, that becomes not only a distraction, but it may block important traffic that does need to pass. And some of that important traffic could be something like sighting of a tornado and or a flood situation or a power outage situation where that could involve human life. So please get your radio checks in now before we go to a directed net tomorrow. Once we go to the directed net, we will not be observing anyone asking for a radio check. One more note. This is new information here. We now are seeing on National Weather Service Doppler radar some feeder bands that are starting to make their way to the southwest Florida coast. We have three special marine warnings out along the Monroe and Collier County coast at this time, and if I didn't know better looking at these storms, that would suggest that we have the potential for some rotation within those feeder bands. Tornadoes are a part of every hurricane that I've ever experienced or been familiar with, and this one is going to be no exception. So even as early as tonight, we may be in a situation where tornado warnings are going to be necessary. 23 here on this special edition of the Skywarn Information Net. Let's open the net up for any stations that may have any questions about impending Hurricane Milton and what it may mean for West Central Florida. This is NB9X.
NB9X, KI4 BPR, Lakeland.
I believe it was BPR. Go ahead.
NB9X, KI4 BPR, Lakeland. As always, thank you for being there. What is the wind field diameter, tropical force and hurricane force, please?
That is going to vary by direction, and if you'll bear with me 1 second, I am going to bring up a product from the National Hurricane Center, which becomes part of every advisory every 6 hours. And with the storm over land, 64-knot winds, which would be Cat 1 hurricane, the Hurricane Center is projecting 20 miles to the northeast, 20 miles to the southeast, 20 miles to the southwest, and 25 miles to the northwest. So knot winds, which are tropical storm force, 240 miles to the northeast, 150 to the southeast, 120 miles to the southwest, and 180 miles to the northwest. Copy?
I copy that. Thank you very much. I looked at all their satellites and everything. I was looking for that product, and for the life of me, I couldn't find it. Thank you again. Be safe, everyone. KI4, BPR, Sandpiper, in Lakeland. Good night.
KI4 BPR, before you get away there, this is a published product by the Hurricane Center that is issued with each advisory, because each advisory is going to change a little bit. So if you go to the Hurricane Center and go to the page for that specific storm, there will be several items near the top of the page. One for a public advisory, which is what we just finished reading at the top of this net. The product called the Forecast Advisory is where you will find the information we just disseminated, and right next to it is a discussion product that will then give you the wind speed forecast by the 24, 36, 48, 72-hour mark, and that will give it to you in both knots as well as miles per hour.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'll put that in my data bank upstairs. I've been living here since '92, about a month after Andrew came through, and I do remember Wilma, be safe, everyone. KI4 BPR.
9X with the Skywarn Information Net. Does anyone else have a question, comment for the net this evening?
9X, KJ4IQE.
KJ4IQE, go ahead.
I remember a couple of years ago, one of the storms did knock out, I think, Verna, and it ended up running out of power, and everything got really quiet. Has your power, you said it has diesel and stuff like that as backup, how long can it run on diesel if the tower does not come down?
Time, the folks there at Verna normally keep a 7-day supply of diesel, and I am also pleased to report that they just finished installing a brand new diesel generator at that site, which primarily powers the FM station there, the Bone 102.5 FM, but that is the generator that also powers us as well.
Okay. Now for another question, say worst case scenario, that tower does collapse and come down, is there a simplex frequency that can be used to communicate other than the calling frequency, something that Skywarn uses or so forth?
Because of the size of the coverage footprint of Verna, it would be somewhat impractical, although that's where the West Central Florida ARES folks and the official emergency stations may be able to step in, because simplex communications has a much smaller footprint. Having said that, however, since Verna went on the air, we now have repeaters to the south in not only Sarasota County, but also several in Charlotte County. There is a repeater now out at Lake Placid, a repeater at Bartow, a repeater at Boyette. So there is some overlap. If you're right at Verna, you may not be able to get into one of those other repeaters, but as you go south and east and north, there is coverage from other NI4CE, both analog and NXDN digital repeaters.
Good. I'm in West Bradenton, so Verna is the one that I usually hit. This is just an HT, so it's 5 watts. The car has 50 watts, but I'll look up the frequencies for the Aries, what they've got going on as well. I've been out of this for a while, just getting back into it, kind of, nervous as usual.
If you're in West Bradenton, hunker down and don't let the storm surge get you. Any other stations with questions or comments? NB9X standing by.
9X, KQ4HTS.
4HTS, go ahead with your question.
My question is, we live in Del Rico in Hillsborough County, and we have a weather station at our house. Would you like to receive any updates on what we report on our weather station?
Certainly something that we're always open to. What kind of a weather station is it?
This Power Pro, I think it's called.
I asked because some of the weather stations that are out there, like the Tempest product, now have all of that information online, and we do have links to their websites that we can just at will go and look up one station or a bunch of stations to see what's going on in a given area. But if you have any information that fits the criteria for severe weather, for example, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, if you get 2 inches of rain or more in a given hour, that is certainly information that we would like to see and will pass on to the National Weather Service.
Great, thank you. We'll keep an eye on it, and if any of that occurs, we'll let you know.
And one of the things you may also want to look at to see if that weather station could be integrated with APRS, and right there, not far from where you the tall towers in Riverview is the NI4CE-11 APRS Digipeater and weather station, and it will collect data from other APRS weather stations and ship that immediately to the national server that the National Weather Service then taps into, and that data gets incorporated into the forecast models here in West Central Florida. Any other stations for tonight's net? This is NB9X.
NB9X, K1CHC.
1CHC, go ahead, Chuck.
Well, good evening, Paul. Good evening, Net. Just checking in. No real traffic. Just hunkered down. We're deployed. I'm at a nursing facility near 75 and Clark Road in Sarasota, and just standing by to provide communications if they lose cell phones and internet. So we're listening to you and hoping for the best.
Since it looks like the bullseye may be on your back there, Chuck, the loss of cell phones, other forms of communication becomes a real possibility, so ham radio may be the only way that they will have to communicate, at least for a while. Keep up the good work. Any other stations? NB9X standing by.
Net control, this is Kilo Bravo 3, Victor Zulu Alpha, Jerry.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Just checking in tonight. I'm up here in Parish, hunkered down and monitoring.
KV4SS, storm spotter down here in Valrico, Florida. No traffic.
Other stations.
Storm spotter down here in Valrico, Florida. No traffic. Listening to the net.
Thank you. Next station. Station, you are about 90% noise. I knew you were saying something, but could not make it out with the noise. If you can boost your power, please do so and try again. that is your nearest repeater. I'm a little surprised you're not getting in a little bit better from Palm Harbor, but it may be the structure that you're in, and there's just too much steel and concrete. But stay safe. Any other stations for tonight's net before we close it? NB9X.
Net control. Control, please check in Whiskey 4, Romeo Victor X-ray. Bill and Bartow, no traffic, continuing Paul, thanks for all you do. Back to net control.
Yes, sir. With that, we have got a very long 48 hours ahead of us, and maybe even longer, because at this point, until Milton comes through, we have no idea what it is going to leave in its wake. We can speculate, but when you do that, you can end up coming up on some things that you really didn't anticipate. But the byword is stay safe. Do not take any chances. Make sure that wherever you are secure, and that you can ride out the storm, and hopefully we will see you on the other side. Again, we will begin controlled operations for the Skywarn net likely tomorrow afternoon as the tropical storm force winds become evident here along the west coast of Florida. We will continue in a controlled net operation for the duration, and at the same time, West Central Florida ARES will also be co-manning that net, and will be in a position to jump in if it's something that requires something that goes beyond the realm of Skywarn. Please be safe. We look forward to your participation during Hurricane Milton. Godspeed. NB9X now closing the net at 9:37 and returning the NI4CE repeater system to normal amateur use. We will have the 11 o'clock advisory coming up at that time or shortly thereafter here on NI4CE. Thank you for joining us tonight. Good luck. NB9X, good evening.
For EMC radio check.
NB9X, KO4TYN. We're up to Charlie Whiskey radio check, please.
You are good readable. A little bit of noise in the background. NB9X.
What that is, could be a ground problem with the antenna. I'll check it out. NB9X, KO4TYN.
Station said they were on an HT. That's all we got out of your transmission, but you were loud and clear. You doubled with somebody else, and that other station come back.
Hey, Paul. Kilo Oscar 4 Tango Yankee November. Dustin from Sarasota. I heard you earlier mention a site to check gas stations. What was that site again, please?
Gas Buddy, GASBUDDY.com. They have been around for quite a while. They do have an app for both Android and your iPhones, and you can also look them up on the website at gasbuddy.com and get a lot of really good information about gasoline in your and other types of fuels, by the way, in your area.
Thank you. Stay safe. Thank you for that, Paul. We, as always, thank you for everything that you do. Stay safe, and we'll catch you on the other side of this. KO4TYN clear.
3 and B9X.
9X, KK4CJP.
Go ahead, Gordon.
Well, we're staying, so most of the neighborhood here in Lakewood Ranch is staying. We are at the corner of Lorraine Road and State Road 70. It's where I happen to be closest to that corner. So in any event, if you need to get in touch with me, that's where I'm at. If you You want my phone number?
At this point, Gordon, I think we'll be doing most of our operations here on ham radio.
Do that. Well, this is where we're at. So in case you're looking for something in this area, that's where I am. And we'll be tonight. We've got probably 7 or 8 families in a row here. They're staying here. So we'll just have to sit and wait, and hopefully everything is going to be okay. You have a good, safe night too, my friend, and we'll talk to you later on. KK4, CJP.
NB9X.
NB9X, KE4MAY.
Check. We had 2 stations there. The station that was asking for the radio check, you were loud and clear. The other station, come back, please.
KQ4, VZE and Y Mama, radio check.
You are loud and clear, good RF signal. Your audio sounds a little bit muffled. You might want to check the opening on the radio. Might be a little bit blocked.
NB9X, KE4MAY.
Good signal. Go ahead.
Yeah, Paul, it's Bill, KE4MAY. We bugged out. We're staying at a shelter, the 5A high school, over.
Copy that, and you're getting into the holiday repeater just fine.
Thank you. Quiet hours is about to commence, so you won't hear from me until tomorrow, over.
Copy that. Good luck, and stay safe.
E4MAY clear.
CE, radio check. Wasn't sure if that was, you were talking about my transmission.
Yeah, your audio is just a little bit muffled. Almost like maybe your thumb was over the hole where the microphone is open, or there may be some obstruction in there. Your RF signal's good, but the audio is a little bit muffled.
Boy, I appreciate that. I'm finished down in the house, the shutters up. VZE out. Appreciate you.
And break with everyone here for just a moment. We are monitoring National Weather Service Doppler radar, and we're looking at these feeder bands now that are coming on shore in Lee County and streaming up to the northeast. They will be passing through Lee County here momentarily, and also getting up into potentially Charlotte and Glades County, headed towards Highlands County in probably about an hour to 90 minutes. NB9X. Good readable. A little bit of noise in the background, but we can copy you. NB9X. The station, come back. The Lake Placid station, come back, please.
Kilo 4, Juliet Hotel, India, K4 Day John. Just program the HD, just want to make sure it's working.
At 73, NB9X.
WA4YL.
Mike 4, Echo Charlie, Quebec, radio check.
CQ, you are loud and clear.
WA4YL, radio set.
We had run some coax jumpers out to my ham shack, but I
It seems to be working good. I've also got my headset to keep the XYO happy. I'll be monitoring KM4ECQ.
Stay safe. And all stations, I've got to step away from the radio here for just a little while. We'll be back in a few minutes. NB9X.